Good afternoon. Uh, Welcome to Wrestling Legacy Podcast. This is going to be a quick review of last night's AEW Revolution. Pretty cool pay-per-view. AEW sometimes puts out gold, and sometimes it's okay storytelling. But I thought last night's show was incredible. I thought it was really fun. It's just going to be me today. Me and Don will do our podcast come Thursday, reviewing SmackDown and Raw. We got Raw tonight; should be a good episode. They got a lot of stuff planned, and so we'll go over each match from AEW Revolution last night. In total, I thought the pay-per-view was phenomenal. I would say that if I had any complaint, the fact that it went to like 12:35 here on the East Coast, and I had to get up for work at 5, probably would be my one drawback. But it was in LA, so it makes sense. First match that I want to start with is the 21-man battle royal that they started up the pre-show off with. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was a good way to start the show, and I like how I enjoyed it. The part where Jurassic Express shows up on the bus with Luchasaurus driving the bus, and Jack Perry gets off. And I thought that match was really cool. They had a good showcase for young people in there. A couple people that I've never even seen before, which is pretty cool. AEW likes to bring in people from the indies to do shows like that and matches like that, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And it came down to Ricochet for his belt, the AEW National Championship, and Jungle Jack Perry. And it was pretty exciting. I thought it was interesting how they kind of ran out of time on YouTube on the pre-show, and it was just those two left. And I don't know if they did that on purpose or they just botched it, but if you had to buy the pay-per-view, unless you streamed it or whatever you do, but if you didn't go to the pay-per-view after, you didn't see who won, because as the show opened for the pay-per-view, like all the pyros going off, and Ricochet and Jack Perry are still in the ring, and they're still going at it, and they're the final two. So I thought when I first watched it, I was like, oh man, it just went over time. And then I started thinking to myself, maybe that was just absolute genius, the way that they went off YouTube. If you want to see the rest of this match, you have to buy AEW Revolution. I like how they brought Jack Perry back as part of like the or the Jurassic Express. I know he kind of went on his own way for a while. It was okay. I do think there's a heel realm for him. But him and Luchasaurus just kind of goes. It just kind of works. And it was pretty fun to watch. I thought it was pretty cool. Jack Perry's family being there. His mom, his sister in the front row after he won the belt. He ended up winning. And he was celebrating with them while Ricochet was having an absolute tantrum, which I thought was entertaining. Hitting the steel steps with the chair. And that was a pretty good pre-show match. I thought that had a lot of excitement. The crowd in LA last night was incredible. It was sold out. I actually looked at the tickets. It was a few weeks before, and I was actually surprised at the price of them. I thought they were a little bit cheaper than I thought they would be, just because Revolution's like one of their bigger shows. So kudos to them for not trying to kill people on the price. I mean, I think a lot of shows too, as they get closer, whatever doesn't sell, I think they're starting to lower them a little bit. Like we went to SmackDown a few months back, and I didn't buy the tickets till 4:00 that day. And I think that makes a huge difference. I think we paid $60 for tickets that were like $120. So that started off the night. Also on the pre-show was Willow Nightingale and Lena Cross. Okay match. That was probably the low point of the show if I had to pick one. And then Willow was in the tag match later on. Just didn't do it for me, especially with how impactful this show was. They, from bell to bell, from the start of the show to the end, awesome show. Even if you don't like AEW, like there was not a down point in this show for most of it. So the first match of the night was FTR versus the Young Bucks. What a way to start the show. I thought it was wicked fun. The way that they started it off with the Young Bucks video package with their kids, I thought that was incredible. If you got little kids at home, them kind of praising their dads, I just thought it was cool. I think their family, the way it's set up, is really cool. And I know they get a lot of hate. I don't care. Big Young Bucks fan. Always have been. And I think it's cool how they did like the corporate route, and now they're even in storyline mode. They've kind of gone back to like starting from the beginning, and I think that's been great for them. I think it's got them on TV more. They've had more matches. The fans seem to be like gravitating back to the Young Bucks, and I think it's great. I really do. And then they ended up having their entrance out with their kids, which was really cool. I remember when Shane did that, McMahon did that at, I think it was like Mania 33, came out with his kids. And those kids will never forget that. That's a lifetime deal right there. Yeah, so the Bucks are back. Let's get into that. And FTR. I think that there's going to be a point in time in the future where you look back and you're going to be talking about FTR and the top tag teams ever. It's funny too, because there's nothing about FTR where you say, hey, what's great, what's really stands out about FTR? And a lot like the Dudleys, in a way, I think that the thing that stands out the most is, one is their storytelling ability with their wrestling. FTR is as good as it gets with telling the story throughout the match. They have such a throwback retro vibe to them. They're like an old school tag team, and they're so good. I mean, they really are. Those two tag teams, I think, are two of the best tag teams in the last 10 to 15 years. I really do. I think you could put them in that category with the Usos. I'm trying to think of any tag teams that really also jump off the paper that are at that level. And I think you put the Young Bucks and FTR right there with them. Some really cool spots in this match. Not to mention Nick Jackson getting busted open within the first 2 minutes of the match. There's blood everywhere. There's blood all over the mat, the table, the screens. I mean, there was blood everywhere. Looked like a vampire convention or something. It was crazy. And it was super fast paced. The dropkick senton combo off the top rope that Nick Jackson hit was crazy. Absolutely crazy. I thought that alone really got the crowd super psyched up. The double sharpshooter was really cool. The Nick Jackson kick out at one after the FTR trigger. That place, the roof blew off that place when that happened. Oh my God, I haven't heard a pop like that in a long time, because it kind of looked like the Bucks were going to drop the ball and that they hit the FTR trigger, and all of a sudden Nick kicks out at one, and that place just, from that point on, the rest of the night, I said that was the turning point. The crowd was like, what kind of show is this going to be? Right there, that was it. They knew. And then FTR ends up winning with the Avalanche Shatter Machine, which was... There's no way those guys aren't sore today. There's no way. Some of the bumps that they took in that match, incredible. I'm excited for Wednesday to see where that goes. And as far as a tag team match, I rated it a 4.6 out of 5 stars. I know some people will probably think that's high. That match had everything. It had everything. It even had a front flip into the wheelchair over the top rope, which was crazy. And then as the match is over and we're FTR's in the ring celebrating, we get the return of Edge. And Edge comes out, and not more than about a minute later, here comes Christian up behind him. And I think that was impactful. I think this is the last run for Edge and Christian. And it only makes sense for them to do it as a tag team, I think. A lot of fun. I don't know what we're building towards. In my head, I was thinking about it last night. Are we looking at a TLC Fatal 3-Way with the Young Bucks, FTR, and Edge and Christian? Who wouldn't sign up for that? That would be a lot of fun. So that was a great match. That was a lot of fun. Great way to kick off the show. And like we said on last week's episode, if you watched, sometimes the opener of a pay-per-view is just as much as important as the main event. You set the tone. And that match did more than set the tone. That was so cool. Okay. So that was match number 1 of the night. Match number 2, Timeless Toni Storm and Marina Shafira. This was an interesting match. Toni took a beating through most of this. And I thought it was really cool. I mean, Toni Storm always has her own character. The Timeless Toni Storm character is incredible. Being in LA, the whole movie scene deal that they did with it last night I thought it was awesome. So Marina Shafir, and she put it on. She put it on Toni Storm most of the match. I felt like that was most of the match was Marina really beating on Toni Storm. The chops were nasty. Every strike, every kick, right up until Toni had enough and she ended up biting her foot. Toni's character is the best character in women's wrestling. I know that probably will not settle well with some, but between her, I can't think of somebody right now that really character-wise gets me to the point that Toni Storm does. There's a lot of good in-ring workers, but she is as good as it gets with the character. She stays in character like all the time. I don't know. I just think it works. And then she ended up beating Marina with a package roll-up. Only makes sense for her to win this in LA, I think. Makes sense. And then as she's laying there at the top of the ramp at the end of the match, who else but Ronda Rousey appears in the ring. Good friend of Marina. I don't know where that's going. I thought it was bizarre. She calls out Toni Storm. Toni Storm comes down. They have a little bit of a scrap, kind of. Marina gets a cheap shot in with the distraction of Rousey. And I don't understand where Rousey fits into AEW. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe this was a one-off. Is there interest in it? Maybe. Ronda Rousey and the Death Riders would be... it would be awesome. She wouldn't have to wrestle often. She could be part of the group. It'd be intense. It'd be cool. But there's definitely a place for her. I gave the match itself a 3.4 out of 5. Okay match. Not great. Like I said, Marina dominated most of it. Toni wins with the package roll-up. We'll see on Wednesday if anything is said about Ronda. I know she just booked that match with Gina Carano. Her trip back to MMA. I don't know if there's some sort of correlation between the company that she booked it with and AEW, or she's just a wrestling free agent and she's going to show up here and there. Maybe she's just going to do whatever she wants to do. But that'll be interesting to see. And I didn't see that coming. Not even remotely see that coming. So that finished up. So we had the Bucks and FTR, Edge and Christian show up. And then we had Marina Shafir and Toni Storm and Ronda showed up. So crazy surprises to start the night. The next match we had was the AEW Continental Championship. Jon Moxley and Takeshita. And man, it was a hard-hitting match. Both those dudes. I thought it was cool how at one point, if you paid attention, the crowd was like cheering. And then as soon as one of them went to strike the other, they would get quiet so you could hear the strike. The chops were brutal. Two of the best that AEW has to offer. I know a lot of people don't like Moxley's style. I think it's awesome. It's old school pro wrestling, and he's made it work. People can say what they want, but he's been at the forefront of AEW since its conception. So I don't care what anybody says. Also, Moxley hitting the curb stomp on the apron yesterday. The way he did it, you can interpret that for what you will. He's not going anywhere, but I just thought that was a cool little thing that happened. But it was a war. Takeshita's exploder from the top rope, followed by the knee, was insane. The sound of it was incredible. Probably the latest 2 count in wrestling history. Like, I thought that it was a 3. And Moxley gets up, and then he fouls it up with the Avalanche Death Rider. And another kick out. And at that point, that place was shaking. Like, it was on fire. Like, if you haven't watched this pay-per-view, if you didn't get to watch it last night, and you listening to this, listen to this whole podcast and go back and watch this pay-per-view. Because there wasn't a moment in this whole pay-per-view where you're like, oh, that was like, no, there just wasn't. So Moxley ends up winning via choke. Chokes out Takeshita. I gave this match a 4.2 out of 5. What a war. What a war. Really, really great match. And then to follow it up, the theme of this night was Moxley standing there, and a video package comes up of looked like a scientist rebuilding. And who else but Will Ospreay? Ospreay is back. So that was really cool. Comes down, takes out the Death Riders, does some, the guys. If you have never seen Will Ospreay, there's nothing physically the guy can't do. I mean, you can hate on him all you want. The guy is incredible. Takes out the Death Riders, and so we had 3 matches with 3 comebacks at the end. Show was red hot. Great match. It kind of gave an old school hardcore strike fest type feel to it. Like, everything was just, and the crowd was totally into it, even though it was a little bit slower paced than the rest of the matches that night. Awesome match. And the next match up, Swerve Strickland and Brody. Who is the most violent man in AEW? Well, let me tell you, both men made a case for it. Brody's back body drop on the corner of the steps was nasty. I don't know if that was on purpose or on accident. Doesn't matter. I cringed when I saw it. I was like, oh, that looks miserable. The moves onto the exposed floor was brutal. Everything was really high impact. Swerve's powerbomb on the apron. For how big Brody is, to pick him up from the position that he picked him up, with how limited space they had, incredible. The whole match was incredible. It all looked brutal. The bottom turnbuckle being taken off, and then the cannonball front flip that Brody hit on Swerve was awesome. The Swerve stomp, and Strickland walks out the most violent man in AEW. And his evolution over time has been so fun to watch. Absolutely love that guy. The crowd, Prince Na, he's got everything going. I gave the match a 3.9 out of 5. Very good. Very good. It was hard to rate these matches because each one was really, really good. I had to take a couple seconds after and think, did this check all the boxes for me? And with keeping with the theme of the night, as Strickland is about to inflict more damage on Brody, here comes Kenny Omega. So in 3 or 4 matches, we had gotten Kenny, Ospreay, Ronda Rousey, and Edge and Christian. All returns. Wild. Absolutely wild. And that wrapped up that match. And then we went to the AEW Women's World Championship. 2 out of 3 falls. I had a buddy text me right before it, and he's like, has there ever been a 2 out of 3 falls match where they didn't use the third fall? I was like, no. Like, I don't think we've ever seen that. So, Chris Statlander and Tekla She is going to be a great champion. She, for me, obviously everybody has their own opinion. She has the it factor. I'm not saying that Statlander doesn't, but Tekla just seems to have something that is missing in the women's division on both companies. And I think that there's a lot to be had there. I really do. I think she's going to be around a long time. Good champion. Gets the first fall. And of course, Statlander gets the second fall. And then Tekla wins via spear and 2 stomps. She didn't want to do just one. She wanted to make sure that she put Statlander away. I really liked this match. I was surprised that I was really into it. But it really had me kind of hooked. Definitely the best women's match on the card. I gave it a 3.7 out of 5. It was solid. It was a solid women's match. Moving on. AEW World Trios Championship. Okada, Fletcher, Mark Davis versus Mystico, Jet Speed, Speedball. This was incredible. I was sitting there thinking about it when they started the match off with Mystico and Okada. And I was like, man, I never thought that we'd see some of the matchups that we're seeing in AEW. I know AEW isn't everybody's jam, but they've opened this weird kind of world. I don't even know if they've opened it, but they've formed these matches where I've seen people face off that I never thought I'd see face off, and I love that. So we started off with Mystico and Okada. I think that says a lot about AEW. I really think so. And this match was high-flying, fast-paced. Kyle Fletcher has some of the best kicks in the business. He's really good. He really is. And we have new trios champions at the end of it. Kevin Knight with a top rope rotational splash jumping over. I don't know how far that is. I hope at some point AEW breaks that down, how far that guy jumped. We talk about on the podcast all the time the athleticism of Javon Evans and the stuff he's able to do. That jump by Kevin Knight is right up there. That was crazy. Had to have been 15 feet out, 15 feet high. Good Lord. That was crazy. Match was good. Gave it a 3.9 out of 5. Very, very fast-paced. There wasn't a single minute of downtime in this match. I love the part with Mark Davis destroying the other 3 on the other side. They gave him like a little spot in the match where he just was suplexing and spine-bustering and just going crazy. And I thought that was really fun. Really fun. Next, we got Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong versus the Dogs. David Finlay, Clark Connors, Gabe Kidd. This match was crazy. It was crazy. I want to see it again. I don't say that very often because usually I get done with something and I'm like, oh, it was good. I want to see it again. This is the right group of people versus the right group of people. And I don't know what the deal was, but there was some spots in this match. Clark Connors spearing Darby Allin out of the ring. Look it up on Twitter. Look it up on YouTube. Go back and watch it. Don't see too many clean spears out of the ring. Like he's on the outside of the ring, on the apron, spear out of the ring, onto the floor. Absolutely crazy. I don't know how Darby Allin survives some of the stuff Darby Allin survives. I really don't. He is made of rubber. This match was awesome. Darby Allin zip tying Gabe Kidd to, it looked like part of the stage on the side of going up the ramp. So they were scrapping out there, and all of a sudden Gabe Kidd, you look over, because earlier in the match they had gotten some props out, and he's like, he can't move. And Darby has him zip tied to the stage. And so Darby Allin, Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy get it done. They get it done while Gabe Kidd is tied up. Great match. That match, out of all the matches that were on the card, blew my expectations further than I thought. Like, I thought it would be like a good middle filler match. Great match. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was different. And yeah, I gave it a 4.0 out of 5. I really like the Dogs group. Don't get me wrong, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong. Good group. Oddly works. It oddly works. You look at Darby Allin, you look at Orange Cassidy, and you go, how are these guys a tag team? You throw Roderick Strong in there, who's completely different, and it works. And David Finlay, Clark Connors, Gabe Kidd, intense group. Just an intense group. You watch them, and you're like, man, those are some bad dudes. That match, I'm going to put a star on that as the match that surprised me the most for the night. Not because of talent-wise, just the way it all gelled together. Those 6 people worked together really well. Definitely going to see more of that on Wednesday night, especially with how aggravated Gabe Kidd was. And then Darby Allin spitting on him on the way out was crazy. Next match, which was really good, was Andrade versus Bandito. The crowd was really into this match. LA has a great Hispanic community, huge lucha community. I thought this was the perfect place to have this match at the perfect time of the card. It was right before the main event. And, it took a lot longer than I thought it would, the match. But there was never a point in the match where there was a low point. Some of the moves that we witnessed in that match that I've never seen before in 30 years of watching wrestling. And I think that says something. I think that the moonsault that Andrade did, so he gets up to the top rope and he's standing on top of the turnbuckle and he does a backflip over the steps backwards, which we've seen people jump off the top rope for years to the outside. We've never seen anybody stand on top rope, face in the ring, and backflip over the steel steps. And there wasn't a ton of room between him, the barricade, and the steps. Just shows you how good these guys are. So good. That match was insane. I'm enjoying this character of Andrade, of him getting the girls' numbers in the front row. Andrade ends up winning. This match was incredible. Stylistically, a gem. Every once in a while, you get 2 people in the ring, and you're like, oh, this is different. This works. And Andrade and Bandito. Another one. Wouldn't mind seeing it again. I gave this a 4.0 out of 5. I thought it was that good. Especially match-wise. Match-wise, it was excellent. I don't think there's too much more you can say about that match. As far as where they go from here, I don't think that storyline continues. With that being said, that was the perfect match for the perfect location at the perfect time. Lucha's really hot right now. Lucha wrestling is on fire. Whether you flip it on WWE, you flip on AAA, wherever you flip it on, you can see that lucha wrestling is in a groove right now, and there's so many good luchadors. I thought that was incredible. And then we moved on to the main event. I'm in pain just thinking about it. AEW World Championship, MJF, Hangman Page. This match was... Well, I'll tell you what. I graded this match not off of regular match grading standards. I graded this match as a Texas death match. And because of that, I gave it a 4.8 out of 5. Would I have given it that as a regular match? No. As a Texas death match? Crazy, crazy, crazy. Both these guys, there's no way they're walking today. And we had a broken window, which was crazy. And we had Hangman powerbombed into it. And then we had MJF drag him through the glass, which was nuts. We had, yesterday was MJF's birthday. I enjoyed the spot with Hangman giving MJF the paper cuts. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was overdone, but for that point in the match, it was good comedy. And that from there was really, really funny. And then he staples the birthday card to his chest with the staple gun, which was also another great touch. The other great touch that I liked about this match was after the broken glass, both of them dragged each other through the glass. We had a bunch of spots on the glass, different power bombs, spine busters. We had a dead eye. We had a whole bunch of stuff on the glass. And I found it hilarious when all of a sudden Hangman was down and MJF gets out the broom and just starts sweeping the glass away out of the ring. I don't know why. I just thought that was hysterical. Some gruesome stuff in this match. MJF sticking the needle through Hangman's face, through his mouth, out his cheek, and there was like a little girl crying in the front row. There were people that were like looking away. Like, it was a true Texas death match, and I enjoyed it. I really did. This match was insane. We had a dead eye through the table. We had a tombstone through a table off the apron. And then, of course, we get out the two dog collars and chain. And that was crazy. They had that thing on for at least 25 minutes. And this match had to have gone on for an hour. I didn't look at the time. I wasn't paying attention. I'd say it started at 11:40 here on the East Coast, and it ended at like 12:40. They went for a long time. The dog collar with the chain so that MJF couldn't get away was awesome. The spot that they did off the stage where the pyro went off was nuts. It was nuts. I think the crowd really enjoyed this match. I think they took it for what it was worth. And anytime you see Hangman come up on your screen and says Texas Deathmatch, we've seen him with a couple of those, and they are brutal. Every time, that guy, I don't know how many more of those he's got in him. I would hope he doesn't want to do many more of them. But yeah, we ended up with the match ending with MJF throws Hangman outside the ring and holds the chain, and it chokes out MJF, or chokes out Hangman. And Hangman goes to sleep on the floor on the outside. Count of 10. And that's how we ended the night, which was crazy because this match, I didn't know which way it would go. I know they kept saying if Hangman doesn't win, he's never going to get a world title shot again. So part of me was like, oh, well, you know, maybe they're going to have Hangman take the belt off MJF. But I really didn't think so. I think MJF gives AEW leverage. His personality, the way he goes about stuff, it's harsh, but it's a gimmick that gets its point across. So he chokes out, and my favorite spot of the night was at the end. They've got Hangman on the stretcher, and the camera goes to shoot Hangman on the stretcher, and MJF stands on top of him on the stretcher outside the ring, and he's holding up the belt, and he's blood, and like, he was kind of like, yeah, you're not going to get your last moments on screen, I'm going to take them. And the way that went off air, I thought was incredible. And I think it said a lot. Like, I think we'll look back at that in time and be like, that's the moment we knew that MJF was the guy in AEW. Like, I think we've known that for a while. He's only 30. This guy's only 30 years old. He's been there years now. And he's been, I wouldn't say carrying AEW, but he definitely carries an attitude that carries AEW. What a match. Chaos. Absolute chaos. I thought the whole card was good. I really did. I have no complaints about AEW pay-per-views. There are times where I'll watch Dynamite. I'll watch the weekly show, and my only kind of complaint with AEW sometimes is the storylines don't really make sense to me at times, like week to week. But these big pay-per-views, they do the big pay-per-views as good as anybody does big pay-per-views. I really think so. And yeah. So excited for Wednesday night. Excited to see where all of that leads that we just saw. And like I said, if you get a chance, go back and watch this pay-per-view. It's 4 hours of non-stop action. Like, I don't think you should skip anything. I think the whole thing was good. So we'll tune in Wednesday, and of course, me and Donnie will be back on Thursday with our weekly podcast. He wasn't able to make it to CAW, was a little under the weather. We're going to get him back. We're going to get him going. And we got Raw tonight. So, big Raw ahead. Got Brock Lesnar scheduled. Gunther's supposed to be there. We've got AJ Lee versus Bayley for the belt. We got a lot of good stuff on for tonight. So, let's not miss that. And we will be back later in the week. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later.